All right, well, hello everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's Lunch and Learn, where we will look at importing the PSPA file. My name is Sarah, and I will be hosting today's session. During the session, if you have any questions, please enter them in the GoToMeeting chat window. I will do my best to answer all your questions before the end of today's Lunch and Learn. If I haven't answered all the questions, I will be sending out a follow-up email later today that will include any Q&As and related documents. So let's get started. First, we're going to take a look at your standard PSPA file. Here is almost a standard PSPA file. I have a couple extra items in it, but the basics are here. The index file, which comes in a text document, and a folder of images. Some PSPA files will have one folder that contains all the images. Other PSPA files will have one index, but multiple folders, sometimes divided up by grade. The index file, as you can see when you open it, it is just a notepad document, but there's tons of information in here. It's all related to each image, so their names, their grades, their teachers, and so on. But as you can see, it's a little disorganized and hard to read. So this index file can be opened up in Excel if you would like to view it in a clearer manner, or even make changes to it. So here's the same file, but opened up in Excel. So we'll take a closer look at the different columns of data. Column 1 is the volume, so the type of document. So here we have yearbook. Column 2 is the name of the folder. So that's the folder that the images are stored in. It's very critical that the data in this column is identical to the name of the folder where the images are. The file name is the file name of each image. So again, this is another critical piece of information that needs to be an exact match to every image. Then we have our grade for all the records, last name, first name. Then we have homeroom, which I have empty, but quite a few photographers do populate homeroom, depending on the school. So middle schools, I see it used quite often, and sometimes elementary. We have a period column. Then we have our teacher name column. So we don't see this much in high school or middle school, but definitely in elementary schools, so that the panel pages can be set up based on teacher. We have our track column. We have a department column. Some photographers produce a department column, some do not. Department is needed for any of the simple panel creations, but it isn't mandatory because it can also be added in once you've imported the PSPA. And then we have title, which is an optional field. And a standard index, I actually have two Excel documents open here. A standard index never has the column headers, it's just data. So as you can see, I do have another document here that has the titles for everything. So now I'll switch over to YearbookFusion, and we'll take a look at actually importing the PSPA. So I'm signed in with a school user ID that has the combination of desktop and remote storage. So to import with that license combination, you will use the Portraits tab. As you can see, it'll say welcome, and you'll have a nice import portraits button. It directs you here that you'll need the index file first. So we can go OK, I select import. And it's going to redirect us to the Portraits tab, which is where the PSPA is going to be housed once it's imported into the program. As you can see, a file browser opens. You can then browse the computer for the PSPA file. And there's the index that I need. So you simply select it and hit OK. As you can see, we have a bunch of different settings, and we're also looking at some of our data. If you see 2 rows of headers, because the auto photographer does include the header in the index file, so it will show as 2 rows here, you can get rid of one of them by simply turning on the ignore header line option here. The default is to replace, and the default attribute set is school. Now it can be changed to church, but it's a very different attribute set, so just kind of make sure it says school, that is the default, but don't click on it because it can get messy if you accidentally select church. Then we have some bars here that we can use to scroll up and down to review our data, or we can go left and right and just have a quick look to make sure the column headers match the data. If you do come across one that is wrong, you can right click and make the correction. So everything looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and select import. It's going to create a temporary folder for the upload process. Now with this process, it will take a moment. My PSPA file is approximately 350 records. So the larger the PSPA file, the longer it will take. But as you can see, it's not taking too long. And also this process is actually putting the PSPA up onto the LumaPix server, part of the remote storage. And the nice thing about it being put up onto the server is previously you could only ever have one project with one database. That has changed with the book ladder and the way this is now saved to the remote storage. So you can create as many panel projects as you like. So once the process is done, the system will see if there's any problems. So it does say here that I have 32 individuals not part of a department. They've been placed in bucket 4, and it even gives me a tip to use the make into to correct the problem, because panel presets require the information to function correctly. So I'll select OK. It will take a moment to just finish the process and confirm how many records were imported. So OK. And as you can see, we're now on the Portraits tab, and we are seeing our entire school. So the buckets the warning was mentioning is up here. There's 5 altogether. 1, 2, 3, and 5 are empty, so I'm going to go select the 4th one. So all these images are missing department. So what you could do is select one at a time and enter the department information on the right-hand side in the custom attributes. That's a little tedious, so we have a nice quick way, like the error message pointed out, using our make into field. So what I'm going to do is select my first individual, hold my shift key, and select the last individual that I want. These are all students, so they're the same. And I'm going to use the make into and select student. And if you look on the right-hand side in the departments field, you'll see that it's auto-populated that, as well as priority and groups. So I'll come to my 2 teachers, select them, and this time select the teacher in the make into field. Whenever you make changes on the right-hand side, it is automatically saved when you click out of the attribute. When you're done making corrections in a bucket, you should always select the database revalidate button, just so it can do a quick review and make sure it's happy. So it's good. So we can now go back to the Portraits tab here. And there's our entire school. On the left, you have filters, so if you want to look for a specific person, you can use the last name field, or if you want to look at a specific class. So you can search by any of these options. On the right-hand side is our custom attributes. So these are the fields that will contain the specific data for each record. So I'll just select one of them. And as you can see, it shows the information for this young boy. Some of the information, such as grade and teacher, will be similar to others, but the names will be unique. If you need to make changes, if it's just for one specific person, you can simply select them. And if it's for a common attribute, such as grade or teacher, rather than typing it in, I recommend using the drop-down arrow, and then that way the wording and everything is consistent. But for the last names and first name, you would simply double-click and begin typing, and then click out for the change to take effect. Now, not everybody ends up in the main PSPA file, so you may get the odd extra photo that needs to be brought in. So you can come to the Portraits tab, and under Member here, you can select the Add button. A file browser will open. You can locate your JPEG and hit OK. Now, because there's no data linked to that JPEG, they're not going to have a name, so we're going to have to find them and fill everything out. So I'm going to reset my filters, and anybody brought in using that Add button will be given the last name and first name as undefined. So I simply begin typing in the last name field, and there's our girl. So I'll select her, and then I will go through and populate her information. The grade and teacher and names will have to be manually done over here. And sometimes it takes a moment before it will allow you into the next field, and that's because it's just saving the change. I'm then going to use the Make Into field to auto-populate the department, priority, and group, like so. So Sarah Jones has now been added, so let's see if we can locate her. So we'll go to grade, and there she is. So that's how you can add anybody that's been missed. And same with the teacher. So for teachers, quite often they will need to appear in both a class in elementary school as well as a staff page. So you'll need to look at your PSPA, and you may end up needing to, in the grade field or possibly the teacher field, indicate that they need to be in 2 classes when you flow your panels. So to do that, you can use a semicolon and then enter the name of the second group that they need to be involved in. All right, well, it was pretty short and sweet today, so that is actually the end of our importing PSPA. The last final step is just once you're done, you simply select the Save and Close button in the upper right-hand corner, and that will complete the process of uploading the index file and all the pictures to the online server. Then once that is done, you can carry on with creating your panel or portrait pages, but we're not going to take a look at that until next week. So I'd like to thank you all for coming, and if you have any questions, please enter them in the GoToMeeting chat window. Okay, so I see that Mike is told me he's writing up a quick question, so. Okay, so Mike's asking, is there a way to segregate schools in case you get 2 PSPA files? To do it, you would have to manipulate the data. There'd have to be something in the index file that indicates one school versus another. Oh, there's additional. So Mike's saying he has a community school, this part of a high school, they're the same, but they want to be treated differently for the yearbook. Yeah, there's definitely a way. Like I said, it's just you'd have to import both PSPA files, and then, but before the import, probably make sure either homeroom or grade or teacher, depending on how you're going to flow your panels, has a way of differentiating between the two, kind of like maybe an abbreviation. Mike, I do have your contact information, so I'm going to think about this a little bit, and I'll follow up with you, but I do have some ideas to sort out that situation for you. But it would definitely involve manipulating the data on the index file. Do I have any other questions? Okay, it looks like that's it for today. So I will send out a recording of this session so that you have it. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Have a wonderful afternoon.